when you're going to stay in an estate. You have to budget for those things. You can't sit there and say, okay, ngizobhaya idlala 2 meter, 20,000 a month. You're going to find yourself paying 28,000 a month.
Welcome to the Property Talk Show, episode number 1. Sibonga u.
Never. Ever.
That's the orange, bro. Imagine the part where everyone.
It's got some ting. It's got some ting.
How you doing, bro?
Bro, I'm doing better than most. How are you doing?
I missed you, man.
No, how can you miss me? I see you a lot lately.
I know, but I'm saying the viewers will miss you on the show.
It's been a minute.
Well, it's a Hustler's Corner, but the Property Talk Show is episode number 1. I have been inspired by you to get into real estate and property investments.
Yeah.
I've watched you grow your brand over the years. You didn't only get into the property space in South Africa to educate, but you also got into it and you make it cool. You made it cool.
Yeah.
To be in this space.
Yeah.
And you just started disrupting in a very respectable manner.
Yeah.
And you've literally grown yourself to be the go-to guy.
Yeah.
Anybody that thinks property in South Africa right now, the first person they think of is you.
Absolutely.
And that's going to be the first question. How were you able to do that? For those who don't know, his name is Mr. Mbha. He's a very well-known black real estate entrepreneur, chartered marketer. He's a public speaker, a television host, sports and lifestyle fanatic. He's a proud father, a family man, content creator. He's an executive producer of multiple TV shows and an all-round community driver. He's passionate about the Ekasi economy and uses his public influence to push various community drives through the Mbha Community Drive NPO. It is no wonder that he was appointed as the brand South Africa ambassador, from 2017. And his digital audience is for all the authentic content that he constantly shares with his the digital audience that he constantly shares on his platforms. And we certainly cannot forget his ever so funny dancing videos he unexpectedly does to entertain his followers with his kids. This is why he not only has his own Mbha online TV channel, but he also enjoys a following of almost over, I think, 2 million across all social media platforms.
Yes.
And his home makeover reality television show, Mzansi Cribs Makeover, Season 1 and Season 2, have been ranked amongst the top 10 most watched programs on Mzansi Magic, which is a channel in South Africa for those who don't live in this country, with an average viewership of over 1 million per season. And I'm just here and I'm proud to call him my friend, my brother, whom I've grown up with in the industry. Yeah. And I'm just glad that now we are fully fledged family men, we are fathers, and we are taking this real estate.
We are taking it like bees.
Okay,
Oh, tell me. It's so good to see you and see you at a stage in our lives where we are self-actualizing in our achievements, in making sure that what we do is legacy-driven. I reflected some of the conversations we've had when we were in our 20s, and I see and understand that you and I are visionaries because we still have those type of conversations in our 40s. So 20 years down the line, we're still talking about entrepreneurship. I remember coming to...
Can you please just lift up the mic?
Must I lift it up?
Yeah.
Like that? Okay.
By the way, guys, the Property Talk Show is proudly brought to you by Ekasi Noble Property Development. Click the link in the description. It'll take you to the Property Talk Show's own specific YouTube channel. We want you to subscribe there as well. The same way we incubated the virtual Mkuku with Panyo from here, we're doing the same thing with the Property Talk Show, and it is proudly brought to you by Ekasi Noble Property Development.
Shout out to them, actually.
Amazing.
To have black developers trying to play their part in the space is inspiring for me, and I'm part of the journey with you and the guys, and I'm looking forward to some of the developments we're going to be working on, Sbu. For me, I want to do things that I'm going to be remembered when I'm gone, to say he left a mark in the space. And that's what you and I are building, basically.
You definitely are making a mark. And I don't know what was the first thing that got you into real estate, property?
I've always wanted to be in property. From as young as I was 10 years old. I remember the last time I was here to talk to you, I spoke to you about how I used to walk around Ekasi, and I used to marvel at corner houses. And I said to myself, one day I'll own a corner house. And I do own a corner house. Now, my main residence is a corner house. And for me, that's what it's about. It starts somewhere. The bug hit me at a very young age. And of course, I needed to gain experience in other spaces. In corporate, I did my stint in corporate for about 10 years. Then I did my stint in production. You know, I ran a production company with other partners. And I then decided, I need to get into real estate. You know, I told you last time, when I was diagnosed with meningitis, there was a wake-up call for me. After spending 7 days in hospital, I realized that real estate is my calling. It's my gift. And I've been in the space for 7 years now. Created a reality makeover show. We are the only real estate agency in the world that has got a makeover show named after the company. Google it. In the world. There's no other show in the world called Mzansi Makeover or whatever the company name is. And for us to take pride in that, that means we are pioneers. We are disrupting the space, but doing it with style. You know, a lot of these old gogos and mkulus that used to sell, they can't compete with us because we don't do for sale boards, we don't do show boards and all that. We're living in a digital era. Everything is online. You know, so you gotta speak to your clients and customers wherever they are. And for us, it's been working, and clearly the proof of the concept shows. I mean, you just said now our show is in the top 10 most watched shows on Mzansi Magic. That's proof of concept. It's working. We are changing lives. We are helping people, but we're doing it with dignity as well. And that's what it's about.
Why is it important for any human being to own property?
It gives you a sense of belonging. You know, shelter is Maslow's basic human need. So for me, you know, owning a property is one way of us emancipating ourselves from our terrible past. And we can't keep referring back to that all the time when we want to create excuses for not being players in the space. Yes, we've got a history of apartheid and all of that, but now the information is out there, Sbu. You know, we have no excuses. You know, people will say to you, the barriers to entry in the property space is the fact that I don't have money. You actually don't need to have a lot of money to get into the space. And this is where the concept of property Stokvels also comes into play. You know, we are working on a very exciting project called fractional property ownership.
Say that again, fractional property ownership.
Yeah,
okay.
The company that we've established is called FracProp, fractional property ownership. So basically, what it means is that you actually get to participate in the bigger scheme of things when it comes to property. You look at a building like this one where we are, where you are hosting the show, with a fractional property concept is that if you've got 500 rands, you have a stake in the building, in the ownership of the building, because there's a lot of other players that are contributing towards the ownership of the building.
Pro rata, ne?
100%. It's almost like owning timeshares, but not really, because timeshares are limited to that. Here, you actually own a percentage of the property, whether it's 0.001%, depending on the contribution. That's a new way of ownership, because you get to also, you know, exit if you want to. Whenever you've got financial constraints, you can actually exit. That's the beauty about FracProp, the actual concept around it, and it's gonna blow up. It's definitely gonna blow up.
You started by selling houses. Can you give us a basic, I don't want to call it a master class, but some advices on people out there want to get into, either call it flipping houses or being an agent to sell houses? How difficult is it to get into that space, and what are some of the most important government accreditations that one needs to be able to start selling houses?
So first of all, you have to start by becoming an intern estate agent, which means you have to start from the bottom, which I did. Remember, I relinquished all my directorships and everything that I was doing to focus on this. So you have to be an intern for a year, where you are actually, you know, gaining
and shout out to you, because I always like giving people their credit.
Yeah.
For some reason, you are an unofficial. You are one of unofficial Mofire co-founders, number one.
Yes,
because you were supposed to have been in the Mofire
actually,
business.
training,
you know that,
man.
No,
yes.
but you opted not to.
Yeah, I had too much on my plate.
But number two, even also you are also a co-founder of Black Brain Pictures,
yes.
and they're doing great. And shout out to Mandla N
100%.
as well.
Shout out to them.
It's always important for people to know where a hustler comes from.
Yeah,
you know what I
where
mean?
it all started.
Sorry, continue.
No, where it all started. I mean, we all have a starting point, you know, and for me, that's what it's about. So You know, getting into the real estate space is not easy, Sbu. Being an estate agent requires that you get paid commission. So we don't get paid salaries. You get paid commission once the property is registered. So you can sell a property today, but only realize your commission 3 months down the line. So you have to be able to plan ahead. And that's the advantage of the space. It teaches you to plan forward. So I know that for the next 6 months I need to be covered, because if I don't sell, then I'm not going to be able to make money for my livelihood. So a lot of people fall off because of that. You have to run your own business. You have to pay for your own petrol, your own admin, your own office space, and the marketing that comes with it. So it's a lot for a lot of people. So my advice is, if you get into the space, get into it knowing what you want to do. At least have a plan for that year. If you can't make a sale, you can still survive in that year. And a lot of people think I'm, a dreamer when I say such, but it's the reality. That's why a lot of people have come in and they don't even last a month in the space, because the expectation is that in Funufana no TT, I want to sell those R1 million houses, which takes time. I mean, I made my first sale after 9 months of getting into the space. But for me, I wasn't getting into the space for the sales. I was getting into the space to understand how they've been doing it all these years. Remember, in real estate, 90% of estate agents are white, but 90% of our population is black. How can that be? So you're telling me that 90% of black people are being serviced by white people? That can't be. So that's why I got into the space, to disrupt it and to show that black child, no, Ekasi or from the villages, you've got enough capacity to run your own agencies, just like the white people have been doing it all these years. It's just about focus and actually understanding your market and starting somewhere. You got to start somewhere, Sbu. And that's what I did. I relinquished everything, and I told myself, for this year, I'm going to learn, but in the process of learning, I'm going to also earn. So it's learning to earn at the end of the day. That's what it's about. And once you start getting your rhythm going, you've got your brand out there, you've got, your differentiators. I started then targeting the celebrities as my unique selling point. I would come to a SBU and say, SBUda, I've got a board that says I support black real estate, I support Mzansi Cribs. Can I take a picture with you? You don't necessarily have to buy from me, but the fact that you are taking a picture with that board means you are endorsing my business. And because I've got the currency of relationships, I use that to my advantage, which is something most agencies don't have. They don't have access to celebrities or public figures or influential people who've got the numbers. And that's how I kind of differentiated myself in the space. But then I realized that, okay, great, I'm making the good money, I'm making the sales. How do I stand out from all these other agencies? What is going to be different about Mzansi Cribs to the other agencies, which I'm not going to name them. They don't deserve to be named yet, because this show is watched by a lot of people. So I then created Mzansi Cribs Makeover, which was really designed to give back. So the premise of Mzansi Cribs Makeover is someone nominates someone who's deserving of a break in life. It could be your mother, it could be an uncle, it could be a neighbor. It's about bringing back the spirit of Ubuntu. Then what do? We come in there, we look at the story, we look at the backstory. We probably get about 80,000 entries. Sure. And we're only looking for 13 per season, 13 families. We go in there and we make over your space for 50,000 rands. We get in there, there's a kitchen that needs to be made over. It's not just about the makeover, Sbu. It's about changing lives. The families that we get to change the space, we get attached to them. And my team will tell you that the quality of our workmanship is out of this world. I always say to my team, whatever you go in and do in those homes, you must be able to do for yourself. Take pride in the work that we do. Look at all the makeovers. Look at the befores and afters. So as a real estate agency, that's how we give back to the community. And also, we're not shy to say we're making good money from the space, because we are in the business of making money after all. But for us, I always say to people, get into business because you want to offer a solution and make money from it. Your solution must make you money.
And it's a win-win, because you guys are helping out an ordinary Sbanbani from Ekasi.
Who can afford it?
You come and make over my kitchen, but how do you guys make money out of giving? Because it's part of philanthropy, though.
Absolutely. So what we do is we bring in sponsors to help us to carry the cost. So remember, I've got a whole construction team, and I've got a whole production team. So I've probably got about 30 construction team members and about 20. So that's 50 people that I'm creating employment for. These people are able to now feed their families and look after their livelihood. But in the same time, we are able to change those lives. So with the sponsorships that we're getting, we are able to carry the show and produce it. And for me, I'm grateful for all the sponsors. And for me, it's also a call out to corporate to say, when you do your CSI planning, look at projects like these, because these are tangible products and projects that you can see what happens when you go in there.
I hear you. And don't be afraid to go on. You must go on, explain, elaborate, because this is the first episode. We'll be talking property, guys.
Yeah.
We'll be bringing people like Titi. Titi is actually going to be a regular. How you guys would look at Penuel or Nota, Titi will be the Penuel or Nota of this platform. And I'm glad.
Just not controversial. I'm not here for controversy.
When I say Nota, people who follow this platform knows that he's not a controversial figure here, but is an intelligent human being.
Intelligent.
I don't know what he does. Well, I see what he does elsewhere. A lot of it I don't agree with it.
Yeah.
But when he comes to the platform, I'm able to bring out the best out of his mind.
Right.
And I think he's an incredible brother.
Absolutely.
And for me, I appreciate the fact that you are humble enough to want to help people. You are a reachable person. You are an approachable person. And you are always willing to share information about the space.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about, before we get into what you've become now, just in the beginning when you were still selling houses.
Yeah.
Which the most, I don't want to say fastest selling houses.
Yeah.
Which, if I want to get into the space and I want things that move quick, like houses that move quick, what type of stock is that? And what areas?
There's no such thing as things that move quick. It really depends on where the market is, you know. And that's where, you know, insights are very important to understand, are we in a buyer's market or are we in a seller's market?
What is a buyer's market? What is a
So
seller's
basically,
market?
a buyer's market means we are in a market where buyers are spoiled for choice. So that means there's a lot of stock out there. And because there's a lot of stock, when I say stock, I'm talking about homes for sale. And the buyers have got the advantage of choice because now they can negotiate with the sellers. So this is where the sellers are actually very desperate to get rid of their homes. So it could be because of financial constraints. It could be because of COVID. You know, with COVID, we saw a lot of corporates getting rid of their buildings because they don't need them anymore. A lot of people are working from home. So now there's no point in either paying rent or a bond towards a building that is not being occupied. So what do? You end up selling it. So that's a buyer's market. A seller's market means there's not enough stock in the market and the sellers have got the power. So that means you've got this pool of buyers who are looking to get into these particular properties, and that's why you'll find in some instances the prices are too high because the sellers know that that property or that particular street is in high demand, and they can obviously command the price. So there's a difference between a buyer's market and a seller's market. It always shifts depending on what's happening in the economy. So if the rand doesn't perform well, we shift either from a buyer's market to a seller's market, and then depending on if there's looting. All those things that happen in the country from an economic point of view affect the state of affairs on the real estate side, whether it's a buyer's market, and also the interest hikes also affect that.
Okay, I get it. That's a buyer's and the seller's market.
Yeah.
But when I say to you moving stock, other people would say stock that is less than $1 million will generally move more quicker or faster than a 3 million rand or 5 or 10 million rand house.
That's true. So if you look at the real estate industry, I would say anything up to 1.5 million is fast moving stock because first of all, it's easier to get a bond. You know, most people qualify. In general, on average, from 1.5 and up, it gets a little bit steep because, of course, the qualification criteria is a little bit more. So if you think about if you're buying a cluster for 1.5 million, that's what, a 15,000 rand installment bond. And obviously, the higher you go, and so it goes. So obviously, the bank looks at your affordability. They look at all those things, and I always tell people, Uguti, manage your finances. That's the best way to actually get funding from loans because the bank looks at that. They look at what comes in as an income on your balance sheet and what goes out. So the ratio of your income versus expenses is quite important. So you find a lot of people, they are so indebted that by the time you do that balance sheet calculation, they're left with nothing. And that's why they get rejected by a lot of the banks. So I always say to people, like, manage your balance sheet as if you're managing a business because your personal balance sheet is a business. And that's how a lot of entrepreneurs, I always say to them as well, is that how can you run a successful business if you can't run your personal business? It starts with you, how you manage your personal finances. Because if you can't get that right, how are you going to translate that on the business side? Are you going to depend on your accountant? You're going to depend on your auditors. And I always say you must understand your business. So, for example, if you're running a business in the restaurant space, you got to understand what's happening in there. You got to understand what's happening in the kitchen. Shrinkage is a big thing. If you're running a service station and you're running a convenience store, your staff will steal from you if you don't understand that business. You need to get involved. You need to know the rands and the cents. Because a lot of people will say, when I look at the balance sheet on a daily basis as an entrepreneur, I'm making a loss of 300 rands a day. That 300 rands a day, if you actually do the maths, it will cost you one day. So it's about understanding the detail of your personal banking balance sheet so that you can be able to qualify for. But yeah, in general, I think up to 1.5 million is where the game is. It's easier to sell. And also location. Location, they'll say location, location, location. People want to buy in areas that are very conducive to their needs. So for example, if I've got a family and I've got kids, the first thing I'm going to look at is proximity of schools. That's the first thing I'm going to look at, so that I know that dropping my kids is convenient. No one wants to drive 30 minutes to drop off their kids at school. Second thing is accessibility of facilities like hospitals. When there's an emergency, how far is the nearest hospital? Third is shopping malls, because we shop every day for groceries and all of that. So there's a lot of factors that you need to take into account when you're buying a property. And those are the things that you need to obviously, proximity to highways, in and out access. You know, you don't want to be stuck in traffic in an area where you're staying, for example, you're staying in Pretoria, Mara Ospana East Rand. It doesn't make sense. But there are people who do it, and they've got their own reasons. So it all depends on that. But location, location, location.
What is the most expensive house that you've ever sold?
The most expensive house I've sold?
Yeah.
It was 80 million.
Whoa! In Gauteng? Cape Town? Sure. How difficult or how easy was it to sell it, and how long did it take?
So that took about 6 months, because there's a particular kind of client that buys a house at 80 million. It was an international client. So we've got offices in the US. I never speak much about that, but we actually have offices. I've got an office in New York, I've got an office in Atlanta, and I've got an office in Texas. And the reason why I've got those 3 strategic offices in those particular areas or states, of course, I'm a US guy. I'm always in the US, just like you.
Yeah.
When I was doing my research around the US market, I realized that you can't do business in the US if you are not operating in New York. It's a concrete jungle. That's where you make your mistakes. That's where you can learn quickly, but that's where you actually see the opportunity, right? And then I also discovered Atlanta. Atlanta is a different version of South Africa. If you want to feel like you're still in South Africa, go to Atlanta and you'll understand.
They say the most concentrated space with the most successful black, I don't know how they put it.
Yeah.
But I think the most concentrated space with or full of a lot of successful black people in America is in Atlanta.
It is in Atlanta. That's why I'm saying, if you're South African and you go to Atlanta, if they're to just blindfold you and then but voop sola, you won't feel like you're in Atlanta. You'll feel like you're still in South Africa.
There's a lot of black people.
There's a lot of black people.
Even when you land at the airport, it's like,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
this airport is different
you feel like
from
you're at
all
home.
the other American airports.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of black people.
Absolutely. So that's why I've got an office there. And then I've got an office in Texas. Texas. Who would have thought Texas? Cowboy land.
Imagine. In
Cowboy
Ghana,
land. Yeah. There's a lot of business in Texas. And I saw the opportunity when I was there for a conference. And so what happens is that I attract the international investor into the country. So I'm actually bringing money into our country. So when I do these big deals and sales, it's because of the rand-dollar exchange that benefits them. But also it benefits my country's economy because I'm actually bringing the funding from offshore into our country. And that's what it's about for me. And that's why I decided to expand into those territories. We call them territories. But it's a tough industry, Sbu. It's not easy. People will say, yeah, you sold a house for 80 million, but you don't know what goes into the preparation. It's a 6-month process. Sometimes it can take you a year. I've had deals that have taken me a year to close, purely because it's complex. There's too much money involved. There's clearances that need to happen. There's SARS. We have to declare to SARS. There's that offshore system that you need to understand. Otherwise, uzolimala. So yeah, I think that's one of the top sales that I've done amongst the many. I've sold a lot of luxury homes, and I've been fortunate enough that I've been able to attract that right kind of investor, the right kind of clients, who just trust me with their portfolios. Remember, Sbu, I'm in a space that is filled with a lot of confidentiality. I have access to people's bank accounts, how much they earn, and so I have to be discreet in in how I carry myself. You know, I can sit with you now and I know how much is in your bank account, but that's not something that I will brag about to other people because it's confidential. So we keep our clients' information very confidential for obvious reasons. Some people don't want to be known Uguti they've got that much cash or capital, and it's just respecting the client's wish. Some don't mind, you know, they'll say come in and showcase my house. So I've created another show. It's called Luxury Mzansi Cribs.
You're about to become the 50 Cent of TV shows in South Africa.
Yeah, because I believe in creating my own content, and I believe in producing great content. So I want to create content that I can consume myself. I want to create content that I can look back and go, yo, that is a proud moment. So I've created a show called Luxury Mzansi Cribs, and basically it's a show where I profile some of the craziest cribs in South Africa. So from 10 million upwards, I profile those houses, and I actually will do a tour of the house with a celebrity guest. So I'll take DJ Sbu and show him a house that's worth 50 million and make you understand why that house is worth 50 million. So that you can understand and appreciate that at 15 million rands, you are dealing with a client that collects particular type of art. You'll find that a guy has got art pieces that are worth 15 million in his house. And you'll be like, 15 meter? But that's it's next level. And with those guys, for example, if I'm doing a viewing of a client who's looking for a cluster for 1 million to 2 million rands, obviously so at the spot and I can show you. But with these guys at 50 million rands, I can't expect to meet you there. I'll organize a driver to come fetch you there, either in a Rolls Royce or in a Bentley or in a car. So I will partner with a premium luxury brand, car brand, to say, here's an opportunity for you to get a sale out of this customer, but you need to create the experience for him. So pick him up at his house. If you wanna, I'll give you a list of the cars he currently has, and maybe you could change his mind about a particular car. Let him experience it, and that's a differentiator, Smoo, where someone picks you up and they take you to your viewings and you chauffeur it around. You're already used to it. You probably have drivers. You probably have all of that anyway. So we are saying that we are balancing what you're already used to, and we're putting it as an offering of an experience. And for me, a lot of clients have come back to say, yo, man. So, for example, typically, I'd pick you up at your place to take you to show you maybe three homes, right? By the time we come back, guess what? All your cars have been cleaned. There's newspapers there for you, courtesy of me. It's a service. It doesn't cost me much, but it's the impression that I leave with you. Which, in the 3 hours we've been going, organized a mobile car wash service. So I also get to empower the young boys from Ekasi. Zogalan Bafetu, this guy has got a fleet. He's got about 8 cars. Please wash them to the last T. By the time we come back, make sure, guys. Imagine that. You come back and all your cars are washed. It's the little things. It's paying attention to detail that keeps me going in the space, and that makes me different from all these other guys about Bizingama for sale boards. You'll never see a Mzansi Cribs or Black Real Estate for sale board. The only time you'll see boards of my company is billboards on the highways, because there I'm trying to drive a particular narrative or message where I'm like, you know what, I want to talk to all these billboard owners and do an enterprise development deal with them. So when they've got dry season and they don't have anyone placing in their billboards, they must put me on. I'll pay for the flighting and the printing of such, but it keeps them relevant as well, because it looks like they are making, inroads in terms of getting booked. But I'm doing an enterprise development deal. They can get scores in terms of SARS requirements and on. So everyone gets to benefit. But it's a beautiful story, because I then target black-owned media companies to say, listen, you don't have to have this billboard just idling for a whole month. Put my stuff on. Put my stuff on.
In those luxury real estates, or in that luxury real estate, what are the commission percentages looking like?
So the average estate agency fee is 6%. Average. I'm talking average.
Standard in the country,
Standard,
in South Africa.
Yeah, 6% is decent. But then you negotiate with the seller. You negotiate a lot. So Tina, how we work is that we always want to know how much the seller wants in their pocket. So let's say you're selling your place and you say to me, TT, I want 2 million in my pocket. So that means I need to make sure that the selling price covers that, it covers my commission, and it also covers the negotiation allowance. Because if you list a place for 2 million, you're not going to get a full asking. You're not gonna get a full asking. No one in their right minds will offer what you're asking. We want to negotiate. We are human beings.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get there and look at faults unless it's a new development. When it's a new development, you have no choice because the price is set, and it comes. The one thing that I love about developers is how they will brand it and say, including transfer costs, no transfer duty.
Yeah.
The truth of the matter is that there is transfer costs already.
They've already been worked in there.
It's worked in there, but it's a smart way of selling. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not illegal.
It's like buy 2 cans of Mofa and get a free meat pie.
Yes.
We know that,
but
the
you've already
meat
worked
pie
out
has
the
already
cost.
been worked. I get you.
Absolutely. So with developments, it's easier because you set the price. You'll say 2 bedrooms are at this price, 3 bedrooms are at this price. You choose where you're at financially. But it's a beautiful way to actually do that because you're covering everything. Now, when you buy a normal property, it's not the same because you still have to pay transfer. A lot of people don't. Like, it's a shock for them when you say your transfer costs are 300,000. They get a shock of their lives. And that's one thing I want to educate more black people about. With transfer, you need to budget for transfer costs. You need to budget for rates and taxes. You need to budget for your levies when you're going to stay in an estate. You have to budget for those things. You can't sit there and say, okay, 2 meter, 20,000 a month. You're going to find yourself paying 28,000 a month. Where is it 8,000 coming from? It's the rates and taxes that you need to pay. It's the water and electricity you need to pay. It's the levies that you need to pay. It's the emergency fund levies that come up in estates where they need to repaint the whole estate. There's a security bridge. That's being. Now with load shedding, it's even worse. Appliances are not working. You have to have insurance, household insurance. A lot of people don't have that. Talking about insurance, Buddha, I'm starting my own financial services agency.
Thank you.
It's called Mbha Financial Services. Mbha Financial Services. It was registered last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know why I'm doing that.
That's TMFS, yeah.
Yeah, you know why I'm doing that.
Yeah.
Because I saw a gap.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw a big gap. You know, with all these floods happening, with all this load shedding happening, you start realizing that people are not insured.
Yeah.
People are not insured.
A lot of people are not, yeah.
And how you see it is how they react when there's load shedding or their appliances go bust. You say, Mara, on insurance, you see their faces. They'll never admit. With Angna insurance because it's embarrassing. But you need to have insurance. Unfortunately, insurance is one of those things. You're paying for something that boni until it happens to you. It's one of those things you cannot get away from. It's like medical aid. You're paying for something that you don't need until you get sick. But you realize how important it is when you're sick or when you're hospitalized. It's expensive.
The Property Talk Show is proudly brought to you by Ekasi Noble Property Development. If you're interested in investing in any of their developments, get in touch with them on 079-275-8821. Follow their Facebook platform. I'll put the link in the description. You can click it. It'll take you to the Property Talk Show's YouTube channel. But you can also get in touch with them and find out about opportunities. Also in Randfontein, they've got a townhouse complex, 2 townhouse complexes there. And they've got 1 development coming up in, not RTPS, but next to RTPS, by the area where the brand new smart city is coming. Next to Silver Star Casino, not far from Lanseria Airport, by Cradle of Humankind, not far from Olivedale Clinic. They've got another development in North Riding, by the North Riding Equestrian Estates, not far from Ramsach, not far from Eagle Canyon. Next to Douglasdale Police Station is not far, it's around the corner. There is Clearwater Mall, there is the Dome. Prime area, prime opportunities. So do get in touch with Ekasi Noble Property Development. This show is proudly brought to you by them, and we are excited to be affiliated with them. I'm one of the investors myself, and we're very excited to have Mbha, who's come on board to sort of mentor us, give us advice, give us guidance here and there, and we're very humbled to also have him on the show. Now let's focus on rental properties.
Yes.
Rental properties, a lot of people say, that's the best way to be smart if you're in the real estate space and you want monthly cash flow.
Yes and no. I'm saying yes and no because I'm in a position now where I've got a lot of apartments around the country, and now I'm actually trying to get rid of them because I've realized in the last 2 years, maybe 3 years, my rental income has been the same. I cannot increase my rent because, number one, my tenants are going to tell you that, bro, things are tough. We've been through COVID, where I went through a period where most of my tenants couldn't pay. Some of them were retrenched. Some of them got sick. So, you know, if you had asked me 5 years ago, I would happily say to you, yeah, it's a way to go. You need to get as many apartments and rent them out. But what's the point of putting something that is not going to give you money back? And that's the dilemma I'm in. And some people will have a different opinion about it. But for me, I'm actually trying to get rid of some of my stock that's not giving me the rental income that I want. If in a period of 3 years you haven't increased your rental income, but your interest rate has been going up through the 3 years, what does it do to your balance sheet, to your bottom line? And that's what it's about.
But other people say though, but the rentals that they are renting, they are appreciating in value as years go by.
Who says that? How is that appreciating in value? Let me give you a real case study. So I've got one townhouse in Constantia Kloof. The rental income there is about 6,000 a month. Okay, it's been like that for 3 years, because every time I talk about increase, they're like, we're gonna move out, and I don't want to have an empty unit because that means you're not making money. But the interest rate has been going up and up and up. So if I'm sitting in a position where my bond used to be 5,000 and I used to make 1,000 a month, for example, and with the interest rate hikes, my bond is probably sitting at about 5.6. That means I'm making 400 rands. And the more it goes up, and it's going to get to a point where I'm either going to break even or start making losses. What would you do?
Cut the losses, if it makes sense.
That's what I'm doing. So I'm cutting losses on units that are not making sense for me anymore, and I'm keeping those that are profitable. But it's to each his own. Some people will say, no, TT, I disagree with you, and that's okay.
Like me, I disagree with you.
But I look at the numbers.
And by the way, I respect the fact that it comes from somebody with experience.
Absolutely.
I don't have any rental property,
Yeah.
and it's good to hear it from the horse's mouth.
Yeah.
Mina, it's only just my own ideas where I'm still excited to want to get into it.
Yes.
But I'm glad that somebody who's been in it for a couple of years is able to give me that advice.
100%.
I'm one of those people when it comes to this rental space.
You want to...
I'm a bit stubborn. I want to go burn my hands myself.
I think you should.
Yeah.
It's the only way to learn in the space. I've burnt my fingers. I mean, there was a time in my life where I probably had more than 40 apartments around the country. And now I'm trying to scale down because it's just not manageable for me. And it just doesn't make financial sense for me to keep some of the units just for the sake of saying I've got 40 units. I would rather, it's a whole concept of you'd rather make 50% of something with you when I collaborate with you than make 100% of nothing. It's up to you. It's how you look. Like I said it earlier on. It's about the balance sheet. I know my balance sheet. I know everything that happens in my bank account. I know everything that goes in. I know everything that goes out. To a point where even when the bank charges me fees that don't make sense, I'm on top of it.
Wow.
Because every cent counts, boo.
That's admirable.
Yeah, every cent
that's
counts.
That's a trait I learned from Mr. Patrice Motsepe.
Every cent counts.
I couldn't believe it. We used to work with him on a concept called Christmas for the People. He does a lot of giving back every year, you know.
Yeah.
So at some point, myself and TS Records,
Yes.
one of the companies that were procured, to one of the suppliers,
Yes.
help him put it together, get artists, get talent, etc.
Yeah.
Well, when we would negotiate and speak about artist fees,
Yeah.
and the expenses, etc., for advertising on that radio station and paying that artist, etc.
Yeah.
He'd say things like, "Why couldn't we pay that guy 5,000 rands less?"
Yeah.
We're like, "But Patrice, he's worth it. I mean,
Yeah.
But sir, you're Patrice. I mean, why don't we just pay him what he's worth?"
Doesn't
He's
work
like,
like
no.
that. Yeah.
If we can afford to pay him less, why don't we call him right now? Let's see if we can pay him. If you can't speak to him, I'll speak to him.
That's
and
why
then
he's a billionaire.
5 minutes later, he's like, he charged us 5,000 rands less.
That's
And
why
we're like, but Patrice, why didn't you just pay him what he wants? You are Patrice. He's like, no,
Doesn't
I
work
am
like
Patrice. And he says, the reason why I'm Patrice is because this is how I became a Patrice, where I care about each and every cent that leaves and comes into my bank account. I'm like, wow.
You must pay attention.
And in Kasi language, you just say, yeah. And you know, that's how you become a billionaire.
It's a whole concept of dotting your I's and crossing your T's. It really boils down to that. If you don't understand your numbers, boo, how are you going to understand numbers when you grow? How are you going to know if you collaborate with someone if back shy? How are you going to know? You don't even understand your own personal balance sheet. It starts there. In as much as it sounds cliched, it starts with you. If you are, you know, Sbu, you'd be surprised. Take a guy who earns 10,000 rands a month, right? And take a guy who earns 100,000 rands a month. It sounds like a lot, doesn't it? Until you go down to his balance sheet and realize that he's living beyond his means. The guy with 10,000 a month is pacing himself. He knows his expenses. He knows what he can stretch himself up to. The guy with 100,000 rands is overwhelmed by the amount that comes in to a point that by the end of the month, he realizes that he's in credit. 100K has gone in. Mara, he's always borrowing money. He's always on overdraft. Mara, the guy with 10,000 rands a month is so disciplined. He's pacing himself because he knows the reality of the situation. Two different scenarios. It's about managing your balance sheet. My success comes from that. I know my rands and cents. I know what's coming into my account. I know what's going out. Every month I sit and I look at it and I do my spreadsheet. I'm like, this doesn't make sense anymore. So why am I still keeping these units? If I can see myself moving from a point of profit to a point of breaking even, I must cut my losses before I get to a point of loss. It's like a tank car. You can see you have full tank. So you can see. You're gonna wait until you see the empty sign. How many people have done that and you see them on the side of the road with luxury cars? It boils down to that for me. Think of your life as a full tank. You start with everything, but it's gonna end up. So, for example, when my petrol tank goes to half, I fill up. It's what I'm used to. I'm not used to the idea of having my on the other side.
Shout out to Uber drivers. We do know all of you Uber drivers why you always leave it next to reserve. And one of them once told me, that's why I smooth. It's because since I got one mistake in case they don't have enough petrol to go too far.
Wow. Not gonna risk my life because someone is trying to push their own financial agenda.
You probably won't even be aware.
I trust me. Man, Uber. Yeah, check. That's the first thing I check. Well, I don't really use Uber as much. I try and avoid. No, man. There's too many stories and I'm
no, I know. I understand.
Yeah, it's a personal choice more than anything. I'd rather get one of my guys to drop me off and pick me up because at least I've got control over my destiny, right? It's about the older you grow, the more control you want to have in terms of your environment, where you're at, who you're with, and that's the beauty about us is because we've got the best of both worlds. Yeah.
The Property Talk Show is proudly brought to you by Ekasi Noble Property Development. Two last questions. Second last question, number one is, a lot of people are saying we're on a brink of another recession. I don't know how true that is. And if it is true, and if you believe so, what advice would you give to people who are interested in buying property?
Yeah, aren't we already in a recession of sorts? I mean, we've been downgraded so many times that I don't even think the government announces such things because it just creates panic. If you think about it, the minute you say we are in recession, everyone just goes into panic mode and everyone wants to obviously cover themselves and whatnot. But what I would say is that plan your finances better. If you've got a bond of 5,000 and you can afford to pay an extra 1,000, put it in. It'll benefit you in the long run. And people don't understand that concept.
Are you serious? Say that again.
So if you've got a bond of 5,000 a month and you can afford to top up 1,000 or 1,005, 5 clipper every month, do it. And I always say to people, when you've got a bond with a bank, create an excess facility with your bank. Tell them I want an excess facility. And an excess facility basically means I've got a bond of $1 million with the bank. I've been paying so much extra that there's excess funds that I can use of that bond. Because remember, Isbu, the reality of the matter is that you go into a 20-year, 30-year home loan arrangement or agreement with the bank, and the reality of that is the first 2, maybe 3 years, you're just paying interest. You must look at that statement. When they issue that statement, it'll show installment so much for a period of 20 years. This is how much the bond is. They even put the interest. The first 2 years, you're actually only paying interest. And people don't understand that. So to curb that, pay a little bit more than you can, if you can afford to. If you can't, of course, I mean, you have to look at the situation. And for me, that's what it's about. So that you can get to a point where you can actually one day access those funds and use them for another project. That's what I did. So you've got access to those funds that you can always take, and then they will just adjust your installments. It's called an excess facility. All the banks have it.
How do I use my current existing property that I've been owning for the past 7 years? How do I use that and collateral to purchase another property if I don't have any cash in my pocket?
Are you still owing the current property?
The other one that I've been staying in for 7 years says I'm owing, but for the past 7 years, I've been paying very well. I've never even skipped a single month. But I don't have any cash in my pocket, but I'm interested in buying another property.
Unfortunately, the bank doesn't look at that. They look at what you call affordability. So they will look at your income and look at your expenses. So it's a formula that they use to say, okay, Sbu earns 20,000 a month. His expenses are 8,000 a month, so he's got disposable income of 12,000 a month, so he can actually afford to take on another skoloto on top of the one that he currently has. That's what they do. So the argument you go to know, but I've been paying for the past 7 years. The truth be told is you're supposed to pay. So it's like giving props to a fish for swimming. Oh, what a beautiful fish. Shy. No, it doesn't work like that. You are supposed to pay. There's an agreement in place. It's an expectation of you to play. It's not something that you can be proud of to say, I've been paying for 7 years. You're supposed to. Otherwise, those letters come in. And then you end up with situations that are unfavorable for a lot of people where it goes on to auction. And that's the last thing you want.
How possible is it for me to get the bank to go and reassess the value, the current value 7 years later of that property that I bought, say, for 1.2 million 7 years ago?
Why don't I reassess the value? What are you trying to get out of it?
Because I'm trying to see how much it's worth now. Maybe then when I bought it was 1.2 million.
Yes.
But maybe now the value is, maybe it's now worth 1.4 million.
Okay, cool. So banks do that. They've got evaluators that can go out there and tell you what the value. But then after that, so they come back with a report that states that your property has increased in value from 1.2 to 1.5. Then what? You still owe the bank.
Is there a way on how I can be able to use the, what do they call it?
Difference.
Surplus or the difference.
But
to get into the next property.
No, but it's perceptual. Remember, it's a case of saying you bought this house 5 years ago at 1 million. It's now worth 1.5. So you want us to give you the 500,000.
I want to be able to borrow that somehow. Is that possible?
No, that's why I said excess. If you have an excess facility, that's the way to go. To say, I've got an excess facility. So I've got a bond of 1 million rands, and my installment has been 10,000 rands. I've been paying 15,000 rands, which means every month I've been injecting 5,000 rands into the equation, which goes into your excess facility. You can access those funds and put a deposit against another property. But it all boils down to your balance sheets. I can't stress that enough. People don't understand. If balance sheet yako, noma ungaba property 100, it's about the difference between the income and the expenses.
Oh, that's why it matters what you are making. Ne?
It matters what you are making.
Unless if my income has increased. In that way, maybe there's an opportunity.
Then your affordability level increases. Because it means now you've moved from a surplus of 12,000. Remember I said to you, if you're earning 20 and your expenses are 8, you've got 12,000, right? Then now you earn 30, but your expenses are still 12, which means now you've got a bigger surplus now. You've got 22,000 to play with, which means you qualify for more to take on in terms of credit. You know, I don't know, man, our banking system is actually quite weird in some form or shape, because it actually encourages people to take credit. Because you can't take a bond if you don't have credit. They want you to open an account or have some sort of contract to show that there's a history of you paying. That's why I mean, I always try and encourage the culture of cash. But unfortunately, because of our history, not everyone has got cash available to be able to buy a property. But it's the way to go, because then you actually take away the element of paying interest when you buy cash. Cash is king. That's a fact. Anywhere in the world, if you've got cash, you're able to negotiate. If there's a house that we're looking for, Mina, now, and the house is worth 5 million rands, you are a cash buyer. I'm a bond buyer. When the seller, do you think is going to entertain me or you?
I can even probably even buy it for 4.5
because
if it's a cash sale.
Because you've got cash.
Yeah, probably the seller can look at it and say it's cash.
You can even be cheeky and say, I'll offer you 4 million rands cash in the next 7 days. Versus me, who needs 21 days to get approval from the bank, that might come back rejected, by the way. There's no guarantee that I'm going to get that bond. But when as a seller, you want the cash now. I want the cash now. I want to cut my losses and go. I'm relocating, kai. That's why cash is king. Cash gives you the ability to negotiate everyone down. Because remember, anyone is negotiable. I'm not negotiable. I always tell my clients, if you're going to sell your property and you're not negotiable, don't sell it. Because there's no buyer in their right mind that's going to come and buy at the price that you've listed it. When I've come then I see mistakes. I'm like, but the walls are cracked. I need to fix that. Buyers always find fault so that they can negotiate you down. But if you've got cash, you've got negotiation power.
Okay, we spoke about rental. We spoke a bit about investment. Let's talk about flipping houses.
Yeah.
Number one, for everybody to understand, what is to flip a house?
So flipping a house basically means you buy a property that's in a dilapidated condition for next to nothing, right? So you buy, for example, you buy a property, Ekasi, you buy a property for 500K, and you spend another 200K to flip it. Flipping it means to renovate it, to make it over, to spend time changing the look of the property. So now you spend
giving it a facelift.
Yeah,
making it look better.
100%, which is what we do in the makeover show. We literally.
And as you continue, does making it look better give it help the house increase in value?
It does to a certain extent, but it doesn't to the eyes of the buyer. Because remember, if I'm a buyer and I'm coming to look at your place and you've just renovated it, and I don't have a point of reference of what it looked like before. I actually don't care. I don't care if you spend 100,000. Just put the price and let's negotiate on that. But remember also, when you flip a property, and there's two things when it comes to flipping. There are people who flip because they want to sell on, and there are people who flip because they want to enjoy it. So there's two things here. So if I'm staying in my property and I'm going to flip it because I want to enjoy it, increase the space, put a bar, entertainment area, I'm flipping it because I want to enjoy the space, and I'm sweating the asset. That's what we call it. You are sweating the asset. You are enjoying the benefits of it. So that the day you sell it, you can say, I spent 500,000 on this makeover at my house, but I actually enjoyed it in the past 5 years. Versus someone who flips as an investor, you go in there, you told my townhouse or my flat, and you flip for student accommodation. That's completely different. And you can make the money back to say, but I bought that house in 500K, I spent 200K flipping it, and now I'm selling it for 850K or 900K so that I can make an extra 100K. That's how it works. Flipping is a good business, but you have to have a strong balance sheet and you have to have cash. If you don't have cash, you can't be a flipper because flipping is risky. Remember also, you flip today and your property sits there for a whole 2 months, not moving. What must happen? You've already spent the money. You flipped it, but when the clients come there, they don't see what you've done because they don't have a point of reference of what it was before. That's how it works.
That's incredible, man. I appreciate you, my brother. I'm looking forward to having you more and more.
Yeah, 100%.
There's so much to talk about in this space.
And
before we wrap it up, maybe lastly, what are some of the rules and regulations or laws that might have changed over the past 3 or 4 or 5 years that people need to know about out there that you might know about for now?
So, there's the Poppy Act that's out now, which means, estate agents need to be very cautious about the information around clients. Client confidentiality is a big thing in our space, and it's a right thing to do. We want to protect our buyers and sellers in the market. We don't want to overexpose them. The trajectory of the real estate industry has really changed. The information is out there, and I'm accessible. I do Ekasi workshops where I talk to people about the ins and outs of buying property, especially first-time home buyers. Buying a home for the first time can be daunting. It's intimidating. So we want to kind of break this giant. Buying property is not for us as Abantu Abamnyama. We need to kill this myth to say, it's overwhelming to buy a property. It's actually not. Yeah. It's because we were taught, and also I think that the banking systems, it's easier to buy a car than it is to buy a property. You know this. You can buy a car in an hour and it's done, But with property, there's and it's the right thing to do because.
Why is that though?
It's the right thing to do because you are in an agreement with the bank for 20, 30 years. They have to protect their interests because they're taking their risk on you. Remember that. Remember, in as much as you're still paying a bond, it's not your property.
Yeah.
In as much as you're still paying a bond, it's actually not your property. The title deed sits with the bank. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Until it's fully transferred. And a lot of people, they'll tell you, but I'm almost done. I've been paying. It's not your property until it's fully paid and the bank has given you the title deed. Any title deed must be the original one. It's got this stamp. It's like embossed. When you do this, you can feel title deed, not copies or anything. Original title deed. It sits with the bank until you've paid it off. So don't fool yourself into thinking what is yours. It's not yours. It's the bank's property, and that's why when you default, they're the first people to call you. And also let's not be scared to talk to banks. Banks are run by people, and I think that's one thing that people forget is that all these banks, all these managers are bound to bonking. We all go to the loo. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's not about intimidating, but also having a relationship with your bank to say, listen, in the next 3 months, I'm going to have an issue. I'm about to be retrenched. You talk to your bank. The last thing you want is your bank coming to repossess because it takes us back. And those are the sales that I don't enjoy because it just takes us back, and I just see how ruthless these guys are when they do the auctions. It's just another transaction. Sold to ban. But for me, it's the lives that are behind that, the families that are affected. You know, the memories and the history and the lineage of that family. And it's unfortunate that we start fighting for properties when someone has passed on. We need to create legacy building, opportunities for each other. That's why I'm starting the Mbha Financial Services, is to help abantu abamnyama to make the right decisions, the right financial decisions. And I'm excited about it because it's in line with what I'm doing. You know, I'm not diverting. I'm just creating another income stream in real estate. And that's what I'm doing. And it's going to be big. It's going to be one of those where someone is going to look and go, why didn't I think of that?
Ladies and gentlemen, as TT is speaking about his seminars and workshop, we'll speak about it just now. Let me tell you that the Property Talk Show is proudly brought to you by Ekasi Noble Property Development. We will be having a seminar in case you'd like to have these types of conversation in person at a room with a whole lot of other property investors or other people who are interested in becoming homeowners or who are already homeowners and they're looking into scaling up and purchasing more and more properties for themselves, or even young people who just want this knowledge. You are more than welcome at our farm, which is called the Bears No Deers site. That's one of the upcoming estates that belongs to Ekasi Noble Property Development. The seminar is going to be happening on the 15th of April. Yes, 15 April is going to be a Saturday. It's going to start at 10 o'clock in the morning until 2 o'clock in the afternoon, featuring myself, our DJ Sbu, Mr. Lebogang Lebepe, who's the founder and CEO of Biz House Properties. They own over 500 properties, and they're currently building the tallest building in Alexandria, the tallest skyscraper in Alex, Ekasi. They're doing incredible work. It is the property seminar, proudly brought to you by Ekasi Noble Properties, and we will also be having other property experts and people in the field to share as much knowledge out there as possible. Tell us about your seminars and workshops.
Why am I not there? You guys can afford me.
Oh, no, come on. Your family, though.
Budget constraint.
So me and Titi, it's like DJs, right? We've got this unsaid or unspoken rule.
Yes,
when I'm a DJ, it's my birthday. I'm expecting some of my DJ friends to donate sets for me, meaning they can come and feature at my birthday party without me paying them a single cent, and vice versa.
Yes.
So we've got that unspoken, code.
Yeah.
It's the same with
It's
friends
beautiful.
in the industry,
Yeah.
where I can have Titi at my workshop, and he can be like, okay, just for an hour, somewhere, but it's cool. You don't have to pay me anything.
Yeah.
But then he knows also I'll return the favor when he's got his workshops.
Yeah.
And those are some of the ways that we also silently work together in empowering each other without having to, cost each other money, etc. Because I know you do for me, I do for you. You scratch my back, I scratch your back.
It's called a currency exchange. So I exchange my currency of my value with you, and you do the same. And it's beautiful, Spook, because I don't have to stress about, he's going to bill me. He's my brother. He owes me a favor. Now he can always call on a favor. And that's what it's about. It really takes the power of collaboration to the next level.
So let's start with our things for this year. Where do you want me, and when is your next workshop? And I'm summoning myself to be there. I'm going to be there.
You're going to come. I'm hosting and moderating they call it the Stokvels Leadership Conference.
Nice.
On the 17th and 18th of April.
Nice. Also, that's 2 days after this.
Yeah, 2 days after that. Nice. So we're inviting different Stokvels to come through. We're going to talk about different opportunities in the Stokvel space, especially property Stokvels. We're going to introduce Frek Prop, the idea of ownership for a lot of black people that they don't know of. It's going to be great. I mean, the Stokvel market contributes, it's about 49 billion rands. 49, the Stokvel. And we've got about 11 million Stokvel members in South Africa. It's a big market. The banks are trying to get into it. It's like Rama. So we are giving them a platform as banks, financial institutions, to come and engage with some of the Stokvel members. We're going to have great speakers. There's a guy called Tsepo. He runs Stokafela. He's the CEO there. He runs the Stokvel app.
It's too dope. I know him.
It's going to be too dope. So
I actually just interviewed him last week. I'm going to put out that episode very soon.
I need you there.
No, I'm there, my man. You don't have to.
I need you there as a property investor to come and talk about some of the stuff that you are working on in the property space. And the pie is so big, Sbu. So people will always say, no, Mara, no, Sbu, Young is competing with it. No, actually, there's no competition here. We are here to complement each other and grow each other in the space. The pie is big. Like I said, if you look at the property space, 90% agents are white, 90% of the population is black. Can you see how big the space is? We've got 10% black estate agents. And of that, 80% are still working for white-owned agencies. There's very few estate agencies that are black-run and black-operated by fully fledged master practitioners in real estate like myself.
I'm looking forward to, it's a 2-day, né?
It's a 2-day, 17th and 18th of April.
For people who are watching right now, where do they buy tickets? Do we buy at the door?
There's a website, it's mlc.co.za.
We'll put the link in the description,
Yeah,
guys.
SLC, Stokvels Leadership Conference, .co.za. You can buy tickets. It's open to the public. You can buy tickets. It's open to corporates. They can buy tickets for their staff, for their clients. It's really going to be great. There's going to be breakaway rooms with experts who are going to teach you about investing in the right type of Stokvels. And we want to bring cool to the Stokvels world. You know, the perception around Stokvels right now is that uniform, it's not that anymore.
That's old school.
It's old school. I mean, I'm part of a property Stokvel with 50 guys. We meet once every 3 months over Mokhodu Mondays, and we contribute a lot of money towards the fund that we've created. And I go out there and I find property-related opportunities for the Stokvel. We buy properties, we rent properties, we just out there. And it's yeah, there's 50 of us. Yeah, there's 50 of us. So it's really great, and you'll find that those 50 guys are all hustlers. They're all in different spaces. Some of them are engineers.
I see you sometimes when you're posting the big houses, with big cars outside, and you're like, yeah, this
on a Monday.
Currency we're talking about, upper Monday.
So we meet every 3 months, like a board report, you know. So it's like we assemble, and the reason why we do it every 3 months is obviously everyone is busy. Some guys are based in Cape Town, Durban, whatever. So we kind of plan. We meet 4 times in a year. And the conversations that come out of there is really about investing. So what's the next project, guys? What are we working on? So I will get to obviously talk to them about opportunities in the real estate space. Others will talk about opportunities in the engineering space, in the mining space. It's really great because everyone is in different industries and we just come in. Even Mduma Selele as part of it.
Nice.
It's Glenn Lewis was there the last time.
Nice.
You are next. You definitely, especially because we're working together on Ekasi Noble Developments, and for me, it's an honor to work with you, my brother. You and I have traveled this journey, and we've proven we can work together and we can trust each other. I think that's the most important thing for me, is the trust element. You need to create a brand that people can trust you with.
I totally agree. That's why I'm also very strict in just endorsing anything.
Absolutely.
Because sometimes you'll endorse something and you lose your credibility because it backfires.
Yeah.
People lose their money.
Absolutely.
Even when I started with Ekasi Noble Property Development, a lot of people were not sure.
Yeah.
And a lot of people didn't trust it.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people, they were very, very skeptical.
Yeah.
But then I know now a lot of things when I start them from the beginning, a lot of people don't trust it.
Now you build from the bottom up.
But you also do your own due diligence before you partner or endorse anything.
Have to.
Up until you are really, really sure.
You have to.
And then I kept on telling my people, guys, come to the workshops, come to the seminars, become a part of the family, come ask all the difficult questions that you want to ask, bring your lawyers.
Absolutely.
Over time, you'll see that, no, this is the right family to be
trust is earned over time.
Part of. Yeah.
Trust is earned over time, and I always tell people, trust the process.
Love you, my brother. I'll see you very soon.
I love you too, bro.
It was a dope episode.
Nice one. Thank you so much.
I'm sure you guys are happy. You've been wanting him back again. I know some of you guys are going to say, you guys only spoke about property.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot more things to talk about. He's part of the family. He'll be back in about a month or so. Yeah. And for all of you guys who are interested to come through, check us out at nlc.co.za, right?
Yeah, SLC.
SLC.
Stokvels Leadership Conference.
Okay.
SLC.co.za.
All right, I'll see you there.
See you there, bro.
And then we'll also see you guys on the 15th of April for the Ekasi Noble Property Development Property Seminar. This Property Talk Show has been proudly brought to you by Ekasi Noble Properties.